everybody. It is Pseudo. It is August 29th here on MMOBuff.TV, which means it's Cosmotronic episode 34 changes. I am joined by him.
That would be me. Now, am I right in understanding that the last, the final, the one after the penultimate, the peak episode of Cosmotronic got started by... Whoop?
Yes. Yup. Yes, so here's the deal.
How do I top? Whoop?
I don't know.
I'm just not sure that can be done.
I don't know, but I can still hear Shinogi, just so that you know.
I will have to get our background sound engineer, producer, graphical designer, currently running around playing WildStar, waiting to do post-show stuff person, to talk a little quieter on the live stream.
That might be a good thing. But yes, one of the things you guys will notice is that in the bottom left of our stream is a very special picture that I hold very dear to my heart. It was the very first time that I got a chance to meet Jeremy Gaffney, and he doesn't do bunny ears, he does cowabunga ears. So what you see in the bottom left is a fantastic picture of Miz and myself from Gamescom of last year, where we met Jeremy Gaffney. And as a reminder, that interview is still up if you guys want to go check it out. That was fun, and I have to take my hat off to him. We had a major camera malfunction, and he recorded the entire thing on his iPhone and then stayed behind to transfer it to our laptop so that we could take it with us. So the guy goes above and beyond. So, of course, with the changes in WildStar, we know we're losing Gaffney to consultancy and stuff, but I really wanted to at least put a picture up there because, yeah.
Yeah, and it's worthwhile just elaborating a little on what's happened there, because it's very easy from a helicopter view to take a look and go, game has launched, person running game, person now doing something different, and come up with all sorts of negatives. And really, if you run into the guy in the flesh, so to speak, that's not his style.
He doesn't bullshit. He really doesn't. I mean, he is in your face, blunt about things. I mean, from him, I learned so much about game development for MMOs. It's saying something. The guy has an insight that makes him, in my opinion, really worth so much to the entire genre. So
he's a significant force in the industry. He's never going to go away from being involved in the industry perspective. I hope to see more of him. I mean, there's so much he's done that's just sort of under the radar in various places. So, will WildStar be worse off for not having Gaffney directly at the helm? Yeah, I'm sure it will be. I'm sure any organization that has him directly there and then stepping away, it's going to have to go through some changes itself. That's not to say they've got great people. It's not to say they've got, from our perspective at least, a major issue. There's others that'll disagree, of course, and we're going to get into that a little later. But hats off to the man behind the PR facade.
Absolutely.
And, you know, he raises a very, very valid point. To put on a serious hat for a moment, not that I physically have a hat here labeled serious, maybe I should have got one. You know, there's some sane stuff he's actually talking about. You know, stuff like this happens in a medical context. Get it checked out. He dodged a bullet. Someone else not so lucky. I'm sure Screen can put a link to the post. There's, you know, some nasty forms of cancer around. There's worse ones than the one that he picked up. And his was thankfully treatable, but he nearly left it too long. So if just one person out there goes, I'll deal with this thing that I've been putting off, that's worth the message. So fair play to the guy. I wish you very, very well, Monsieur Gaffney. I hope to run into you again. And seemed fitting on the last Cosmotronic to make suitable reference to you. But Pseudo, that was all serious. But there's more serious stuff coming. So what is happening to Cosmotronic?
Well, here's the thing. You know, before we get too far into the serious side, we've had a couple comments I want to address. The comment that we're making about Mizpah looking older with a beard, I want you to know it basically takes him about 3 weeks to grow that. So
I'm prepping for Movember now.
He's prepping for Movember now. It does take him a little while, but yeah, we've got him on. For some reason, he's decided to grow facial hair. I'm starting to feel, and I am going to have to, based on a lot of my hosts, although Screenager keeps me sane.
You're also going to have to grow facial hair?
I am going to have to grow facial hair. Yep, I am going to work on growing a mustache and a beard. Although I am going to let you guys know well in advance, yes, come November, November and December are going to be really big months for us here. September is huge. It's our 1 year anniversary. It's our birthday, so to speak. It's our cake day. And we have a lot of things that we're going to be giving away and a variety of shows.
I don't like cake. Can I have cheese instead?
No. Anything I can do to make you pout. No. What we're basically doing is we are going to be having through September, we are going to have a whole bunch of giveaways. October is going to have a collection type of a thing as we gather people for a game jam. November, I am going to be participating in Movember. Every single show that I am on, I am going to be doing my best to be wearing a completely different mustache. And it's going to take me a while to collect them all, but my hope is that by doing so, I will be able to raise money for Movember. It's a particular charity event that it's very close to my heart. And then in December, we have a huge Game Jam charity, and I'm currently trying to work with Twitch and a few other places, fingers crossed, to get them all involved in it as well.
Yep.
So, yes.
And it should be worth pointing out, if anybody has a moustache they'd like to see Pseudo wear, please send it in to the studios, and I will make sure that it gets worn live on air, so to speak.
Absolutely. In fact,
It'll probably involve sellotape.
Well, no. I mean, if I have to, I'll get some spirit gum. It's not that big of a deal to me. By the end of Movember, I won't have an upper lip at all. It's going to be one of those things. But yes, if you have a mustache you want me to wear, feel free to send it to the studios. I will pick it up next time at the studios, and I will use them in Movember.
Mentioned charity bits and pieces. There's one more thing I want to mention, and we'll get into the topics du jour, so to speak, and get back to the MMO food stuff references.
Yes, well, and also all the changes I'll go into in just a second as well.
Changes coming up. Yeah. But due to our ex-friends at Imagination Gaming, I have now also fallen victim to the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. No, they're great guys.
Ex-friends. Wow. No.
Superpower friends, X-Men, ex-friends? No? Okay.
Yes.
I have been Ice Bucket nominated. So we decided to do something a little different. And the Ice Bucket Challenge will be going out live on Twitch, on this channel, right here. Hope the studio doesn't get too wet. At midday on Sunday, 12 o'clock BST, British time, Sunday.
Yes.
And there'll probably be a YouTube as well later, but hey, live will be more fun.
And you're going to want to watch because you definitely want to see who he will nominate. I've basically threatened him with death if he nominates me, which means I'm probably going to get nominated. So you guys will get a chance to see us get involved in the bucket challenge in some way. But yeah, please, 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 please spread the word that Mizpah will be clothed, because that's really important, but he is going to be participating in the ALS Bucket Challenge. And for those of you who are unaware of it, ALS is a disease that is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Oh, wow. English. I can't speak it. And it's awareness raising. So he's got something planned, and we'll end up seeing what happens.
And Pseudo doesn't know what it is yet.
No. All I said is if he destroys the studio, I will kill him, is all I've said. But, yeah. So, also, if the police are watching and he does accidentally destroy the studio and then gets hit by a car, trust me, it wasn't my fault. I'm just saying it's a joke, okay?
I have witnesses, many witnesses.
Uh-oh. I'm going to get myself...
Finally!
Yes.
That's all our preamble out the way. Let's talk about the changes that are coming up to Cosmotronic, and then we can dig into the topics of the day.
Yes. So here's the deal. We love WildStar. This is not changing. We're not going to stop talking about WildStar, but we also want to make certain that we're covering everything that we love and everything that we hear about from you guys. And we've had several requests. Guys, there's more to NCSoft than just WildStar. Can't you talk about the others? And guess what? That's the case. So starting next week, our Friday show is going to modify itself drastically. We are going to have Screenager and myself as the consistent hosts for that show. We will be talking WildStar, but we'll also be talking Guild Wars 2. We'll also be giving away Guild Wars 2 stuff. Now, here's the thing. Each week, we're going to teeter back and forth between WildStar and Guild Wars 2, depending upon the big bad and the amazing that tends to happen. We're still going to address all the news, and we will have someone joining us for WildStar talking, and we will have someone joining us for Guild Wars 2 talking. So, I'm not going to tell you the name of the show yet, because that's going to be a secret. But understand that our show is going to very much so revolve around Guild Wars 2 as well as WildStar. So we're not just tackling one MMO on the show anymore. It's expanding. But of course, because it's Cosmotronic is the name for WildStar, it's not going to be called Cosmotronic anymore. It's going to have a different name. So...
And well, and whatever NCSoft choose to produce, that's probably where we're going to be focusing our attentions.
Exactly.
Who knows what will pop up?
Yeah, for all we know, so we might even talking Aeon. I haven't got a clue. All I know is it's basically NCSoft is going to get some love from us because we believe they deserve it. So to you guys at ArenaNet and to you guys at Carbine, you're just going to start adding more about you. You.
Oh dear. Right. Now, sadly, I did try to say we're doing shows about what we love, so I wanted to make tonight a show all about cheese. But unfortunately, Pseudo wasn't very impressed, so we decided to do a few more bits and pieces. Now, one of the things that... We're going to pick up a bit of a thread from last week, and one of the things that caught our attention was the announcement today from Remnants. I'm not quite sure of the correct pronunciation.
Wow,
Remnants.
Learn to speak, dude.
I don't speak Oceania. It's a different language, isn't it?
Way to segregate our audiences. Holy cow.
I'm just simply pointing out the grammatical differences. and that's actually one of the things that's interesting is to what degree, and let me just wind back up for a minute, to what degree is the fact that it's an Oceania guild, a well-progressing Oceania guild, that the community's already pared down to a couple of servers for that part of the world. They'd recently acquired sponsorship, I believe, from Ping Zapper, which makes an interesting statement as to their location and their latency and issues playing the game. And I believe they had Oceania first on Phaseborn, which is 5 out of 6 GA. So, with all that in mind, they've imploded. They've gone. Oh dear.
They haven't imploded. That's not the right terminology to use.
Okay, then they've lost, I believe, and I'd love to have someone, and we did have a brief attempt, but didn't put enough time into it prepping it.
We didn't have enough time to get in touch with them, but the hope is
we'd love to have someone from there come talk. Yes.
Absolutely, although it might be a little early for them considering oceanic times, but all the same.
Well, they made the announcement 14 hours ago, give or take, so...
But yeah, they decided to leave not because of the game itself, but because people were leaving the game and they couldn't get people to join or recruit. And that was a very interesting choice and a step that they took. And I don't know, my heart kind of breaks for them because I know for a fact that at least on the server that we're on, the amount of recruitment options are nuts. The amount of guilds that are out there are amazing. And no, Darth Blank has not talked to me yet about the new project. But yes, so, you know, it's one of those things, I think, you know, they were drawn to WildStar for the same reason that you and I were drawn to WildStar. 40-man rating.
Yep.
And, you know, it's a difficult thing to go through. It's a difficult thing to build. And anybody who has gotten involved in any kind of content from, say, 10-man to 25-man understands the strain of that. If you've never had to try to properly organize a 40-man raid team before, I'm going to tell you, it is insanely nerve-wracking. It can drive people batty, which is why Mizpah is partially insane. And it does require having more than 40 people on your raid roster. You have to
I'd say 60, 65
60 to
would
65 is what you need to
personal
have.
ideal number.
Exactly. So, you know, the fact that they've run into some issues, and it breaks my heart because I understand that the oceanic side of things, especially after talking to Dr. Marsh, who is from Australia, and I talk to him about gaming all the time, and he stresses how difficult it is to find gaming groups in the oceanic side, and my heart breaks for them. I know that they really like the game, but man...
Yeah, I mean, they have stated there's other issues with the game, and this is why we'd love to get more comment from them so as not to put words in their mouths.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it would be interesting to me that, you know, they reached 5 out of 6. They state that they've lost about 50% of their raiding roster, which is a pretty high number in a 2-week period. Seems especially odd to me that you'd lose so much of a raiding roster whilst actually being underway in progression. I could easily understand a lot more burnout, for example, whilst trying to get attuned, not yet having got to the raiding rewards, things like that. But they were trying to run 220s, and they were struggling to keep them full. Their view and their aim was always for 40-man datascape. And ultimately, they had people feel they weren't going to get there, drop out. That caused more people to think they weren't going to get there, drop out, and that vicious circle continues. And I wonder to what degree their problems were caused by time zone in the oceanic region, were caused by their physical issues playing with ping and proximity, and to what degree they were caused with 40-man raiding, game design, organizations, or simply player pool. There are so many things they were contending with to do what they're doing. They did a good job to get to where they got to. Maybe a new phoenix will arise from those ashes. We'll have to wait and see.
We will. And I'm hoping we can get our hands on them and ask them a question, because in the end, I want to see where their thought process is. I want to know what their thinking is, because honestly, we want to get that feedback because we know the developers are listening. I'd be curious to know what happened in that 2-week frame, especially since, and this goes back to the piece that I wrote earlier last week. If you haven't had a chance to read it on MMOBuff.TV yet, do so, where they had specifically said, the developers were like, look, if content's not ready, it's not going out, period. And we have seen proof of it. Not even a couple hours after I put up my post, we got information going, guys, our latest patch, our latest content release is put on hold. We can't tell you when it's going to be, because what they're doing is they're going back and they're reviewing the month's worth of bugs, critiques, outcries of various things, and they're trying to fix all of that. They don't know how long it's going to take, so they can't give us an exact detail, but that came from Mike Donatelli. Hearts off to him, because what it comes down to is people want a game, but they want the polished content, not the poorly put together content. And Carbine's listening. They're listening. And unfortunately, it seems as if maybe they're not moving fast enough. But honestly, I don't know. But like I said, my heart goes out to them. Now, for those of you who are watching and have noticed, yes, I have changed my hat. But here's the deal. The reason I've changed my hat is because Mini Swagzilla has started giving away codes. These are codes specifically for WildStar that you could only get at Gamescom. We've got a few. And we're going to give away more. We gave away some last week. We're giving away some this week. So pay attention to chat and Screenager along with us. Yep. And we will.
And you have to tell your friends you're at Gamescom, clearly.
Yes. And then
That's why you have a top hat.
And I do believe they are usable anywhere, not just EU, just so that you are aware, folks. Also, for those of you who are curious, when we start up next week, we are also giving away a very rare in-game Guild Wars 2 thing as well. But that is all I'm going to say. So going on. So yes, we have them making changes with the actual code, and we have them making bug fixes. We've had a very small, tiny patch that's just come out to fix some of the medic issues. But we also know that in the next upcoming content patch, there are massive changes coming across the board for all classes. And some people are liking them, some people are not. So apparently,
sorry, that was just irking me there. I had to react to that comment there.
Do you want me to turn the bunny flashy ears on?
Of course.
There.
Now, we've got two things to dive into. So we've got some content changes you want to talk about. But Binny TV made an interesting comment a little while ago, and I feel tempted to bite. So am I all right to derail you a little bit?
You can derail me as long as you give massive hearts to Binny. Binny has been popping around for a while, and she's amazing. So put your hearts up for her, and then you can totally go after her if you want.
So hearts to Binny before I totally disagree with you in front of everybody. There we go.
Now, I also want to stand behind you, Binny, and let you know I'm used to this. Mizpah has his opinions, and he and I argue all the time. So don't worry. I'll try and take your back, depending upon which comment it was. Chat's going by really fast for me, so I do apologize. But yes, so go ahead.
Indeed. Now, I'd just like to say, for the duration of this little soapbox moment, I'm going to let Pseudo do all the flashing. So you're okay. I'm not planning on doing any flashing for the next 15-20 minutes at least. So you're okay. Now, Benny, you make a point that the biggest issue in terms of, I'm guessing, population availability and burnout, correct me if wrong while I'm talking, is in and around the attunement process in the first place, with the contention that it doesn't work for some reason. Now, I'm going to argue that the attunement process, albeit at times torturous, albeit at times frustrating, and albeit a roadblock to activities that people want to do, is a very, very necessary one. Now, we've already seen response from Carbine to say they're changing it, they're making it easier, they're lowering, in my personal opinion, that bar. It's one of the few things they've done that I personally really don't agree with.
Whereas I think it's
but
an
I
okay
understand.
option.
Yeah, I also understand their rationale and their choices, and I suspect that it's a smart thing to do, combined with issues like server pop and other bits and pieces. But I like it. I like the sense of achievement, the relative difficulty, not perhaps at an individual level, but certainly in terms of a group coordination level. And I still argue from a raid leader's perspective, you want to know that people have been through that silver attunement under a degree of time pressure and can effectively play nicely with others. And for a game where the raiding content is, I hate to use their word, hardcore, you need that level of test, pressure, lead-in, because my fear is that new players will come to the game as time goes on, and they will. They're talking about some server tech in the background, and I can make some educated guesses as to what they're going to do. And they're going to get an influx at some point of new players. Those players that haven't been through the silver attunement process, and those players, come hell or high water, are going to find themselves standing in front of a raid boss. And I suspect that in those raid teams, there's going to be those that have been forced to up their game to the level of coordination and team play that a silver currently requires, and those who haven't. And I suspect, as a raid leader, that's going to be a nightmare, because not everyone's going to be on the same page at the same place, and that's an issue that's going to have to be dealt with. And I'm nervous of haves or have-nots, splits, not splits, people going, but I did it at this point in time, and
Well, okay, now
I like that high bar.
this is the thing, I appreciate the high bar, and Benny points out you didn't read her remark correctly. She said the attunement was poorly designed. I like attunement, I like the challenge, but it was designed poorly. It was a mindless grind and too long for not only casual players, but hardcore players as well. I know exactly where Miz is going to go with this, but I'm going to interrupt him because it's my turn to talk. Welcome to what happens during a show when Miz and I are both on this side. Yo. You stop that, because then I'll pick on you for something else.
Okay. You made the first whoop.
There's been a couple of whoops. But anyway, so here's the thing. If you are trying to build a quote-unquote hardcore raid team, you can, as a raid leader, specify you must have silver. Even if that's not the requirement for attunement, you can make that specification. And that is your right and your prerogative. I like the fact that that is available. I like, however, the fact that one of the things they stressed about endgame content was that it would change on a week-to-week basis. Sometimes it'll be the kind of thing that if only the top 1% are going to be able to accomplish because they've worked for that teammanship, or they have that skill set, or they strive for that level of gameplay. And yet other weeks, a casual group can walk in and do an okay job. Now, if a casual group cannot get attuned, how can we see this as an option? How can we see this as a viable thing? I like the fact that the options are there. I also like the fact that in the end, the control over who builds the raid teams is in the guild leaders and the raid leaders' hands. You all, if you wanted to, could specify you can only raid with us if you have gold. If you wanted to, you could take that level. But you actually have an option here. You can say you must have silver or you must have gold.
Whereas that's factually correct, and you can certainly say that, and you can say to people, let me see your achievements, and all this jazz. There's a difference between a player-created point of entry. It's all well and good to say we're going to pick the highest from the talent pool, but it's very different to say the game says you must be this tall to ride this ride. And that sets an expectation in terms of content design and what you can expect to run into. For all we know, the easiest iteration of datascape when things start changing on a regular basis could be for the people that can only get silver, quote unquote. And I don't mean that in a derogatory term, I just mean that in terms of splitting the player base up into grades. Maybe the 1% is the 1% of people after all of the people that have got attuned at what was the originally designed level.
Well, see, we don't know what their original concept is. We know that they wanted to create an environment at Endgame that was difficult, that wasn't easily consumed, that required people to pay attention. And it takes us back, and it harkens to the old school days of when Molten Core was around, BW was around, and AQ40 came out. You had those guilds that could easily walk in and go, right, we got this. And then you had those guilds who had to wait until it was almost time for Burning Crusade to come out to actually tackle things because they moved at a slower pace. We don't know.
And the tiering was fantastic.
Well, we don't know at this current moment in time what their design is. We can guess.
Indeed, and you can make an educated guess that the design must be based upon the initial release.
Exactly.
Given they didn't add if they added features and changed how it works, you could argue that they were always working towards this later iteration. They just got there in steps, and that's totally valid.
Yeah, and
but on the basis they had design A and appeared to pull back to design B, I have to say their design intent must surely have been what they launched with in terms of attunements.
It's a possibility, but this is the thing, they're trying to make a good compromise here, and this is one of the reasons why I personally like Carbine. There are going to be people out there who go, they're crap. There are going to be people out there who say they're horrible. And don't worry, I don't plan on killing Mizpah, because I have plans for him in the future.
and I have to interject again. Apparently I look like Marjorie Tyrrell.
I don't know who that is, but apparently you do. Well,
I
congratulations.
don't know who that is either.
Thank you, Darth Laser. You make me smile. Okay, so here's the thing. When it comes to the content that's available, there's always going to be iterations. There's always going to be changes. But Carbine has done something smart here. Okay, they've not changed the difficulty of the raids. Okay, they haven't touched the raid difficulty. They haven't touched any of that. All they've made is one modification to one part of the attunement process. Now, the other thing that they've done is they've brought in a dungeon to teach people, the proto games. Honestly, that to me shows that they don't want to change their philosophy for endgame. What they'd rather do is give people a chance at it and also teach people, prepare people. Because in the end, every time you pick up a game, and this goes back to any game that you play, whether it's Civ or whether you're playing a roguelike, there is a learning curve. And I believe that WildStar has nailed a learning curve to teach people how to play. For example, I stopped playing WildStar for a couple weeks because I got really sick, as you all know. I came back into the game. I got my ass handed to me until I've remembered how to play, how to handle the dodging, how to handle the double jumping, how to balance sprint and my abilities, how to get the best out of the move, which is the moments of opportunity, how to handle those interrupts, how to take on and kite. I had sort of forgotten how to play that way. And then when I got back into it, it's like, oh yeah, now I'm picking it up. Because I spent so much time in the leveling process, it was more or less teaching my memory reflex and my fingers again how to do things, and my mind to go, oh yeah, I can respond this way in this game, whereas in another game I couldn't. So there we go. I just think they've got it right. I think they're walking a very delicate line of trying to keep people like you pleased, and you are a very difficult person to please.
Yep.
And people like me.
First one to say that.
And people like me who understand that sometimes there's nothing wrong with having a more casual approach to things. I take the time to look at my character and what my character looks like. You don't care. I mean, there's sort of a flexibility. We have two very opposing sides of things, although we both have the same goal and intent.
Yes.
Time freeing up, I'll be raiding 40 man. That's not happening.
Confession to make? I actually had to work out how the costume system worked after getting the top hat from the code from Gamescom, because I hadn't touched the system, I didn't have a clue about it, I hadn't used it, because until I had the Gamescom
that is
top...
not true.
No, I dyed stuff, I'd never used a costume slot.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I dyed stuff, never used a costume slot, because I might make myself bright... I might make myself bright pink.
What did you do?
Just for the sake of it. Hang on, excuse me. And back up to the right height. So where was I? Dyeing myself bright pink, I do believe. I think my chair may be dying.
Maybe. Excellent! This is great! I'm loving it. So as you guys have noticed, I am definitely higher up on the totem pole than Mizpah is.
So while I subtly, without anybody noticing...
Ooh, screen's doing a missing letter code. Good luck, everybody.
Yes, we'll concentrate on the missing letter while I do believe my chair has just broken.
Wow, it broke live on stream. So what are you going to do to replace it, dude? Seriously. The captain's chair. You can't let the captain chair fail. That's like, it's like your moniker, your signature. It's your MO.
Right.
So you're sitting on the edge of it. Just put your arm up in the here. I'll even adjust my chair just a little. Just
so yeah, this is now the new seating style, and we'll do this. So here we are, relaxed in MMOBuff, waiting for my chair to collapse even more. Studios.
I'm very laid back, MMOBuff. Yep.
Where was I? Painting myself pink, I do believe.
You're painting yourself pink because you didn't know how the system worked. But that's the thing. I think, and this goes back to something Jeremy Gaffney said, which is why I'm so glad we have the picture of him down there. Because what it comes down to for me, Gaffney pointed out, in the western side of the world, 70% of players are solo players. They're not the team players. They're not the guild players. They're not the group players. They have their own idea, their own agenda, and how they want to play the game. Carbine has done an amazing job of developing a game where people can play the way they want. You can do things solo. You can do things in a group. Or you can do things with a smaller group. You don't necessarily have to do, dungeons. Go forth and do an adventure. 2 to 5 people. Have fun with it. You have flexible options. Problem is, so many people want to have a good guild experience, and they're the louder voice. That's the thing we have to remember. It's the people who want that end game. It's always the minority who has the larger voice, usually. I say usually, and this is actually hurting my back, so I'm going to have to adjust myself. Ow. Ooh.
So I'm now sitting on the arm of my chair, and it's hurting your back.
Oh, yes.
Oh dear. We don't want to do that.
I brought tears to my eyes. Wow. That was a little sharp. Right. So, yes, the content is incredibly important.
I'd like to interrupt this content to say that MMOBuff are now actively seeking a sponsor who provides chairs, I do believe.
I'm seeking a sponsor who's okay taking care of my back. Oh, man, that really, really hurt. Oh, jeez. I'm crying out of love, I promise. Not pain. Not pain. I swear, it's not pain. Oh.
Okay. So let me backtrack a minute and we'll summarize before diving into some content changes.
Yes.
We've seen one of the big Oceanic guilds, for whatever reason, go pop. Population availability seems to be a big part of it. They've got themselves into a bit of a vicious circle. Would love to find out more about that. We don't know enough, so we're speculating a little bit. The news is only 14 hours old. Is it the attunement system? Is it general player pop? To what degree is this going to be fixed by the back-end server tech? And here is my prediction.
Are you predicting mega servers?
I am predicting something very like a mega server.
Like a mega server.
I am predicting a home base server, but you log into whatever availability based on the highest number of people in that shard from where you're currently active, thus giving you an ability to join or seek across all shards. What I'm predicting is they're going to make use of the server daemons they have and the way that this stuff is put together, from my understanding of them, to allow them to poll across the entire data center. It's not quite the same as a mega server because that has all sorts of issues with economy and things like that. So I believe that whenever you go to the AXCX, you're going to get your home base. Now, I've got zero information on this. This is pure guesswork from my part.
No, see, this is the thing. There's something to be said about the fact that Carbine are under the NCSoft banner. We know that Guild Wars 2 has made some changes to go to mega servers. We have seen in the past, even World of Darkness. I'm not talking World of Darkness. I'm talking World of Warcraft. I'm sorry. I've got tabletops on the brain because I've got one tomorrow night. But when it comes, I mean, even World of Warcraft has done some kind of, migration to allow for higher populations in places. The thing to keep in mind, and this is something I pointed out in the last show, Nexus is huge. And they're talking about the fact that they're bringing out a new zone. And that's going to make Nexus even bigger. So I guess the real question ends up becoming is how they're going to handle the spread the more they bring out. This is one of the problems I had with World of Warcraft. And I am hoping that we don't sort of see the same problems that we see in WildStar. When you have a world that is so massive, it is always going to be difficult to balance the population. And you've been told to sit on a book.
No, I'm trying to see if I can get to a standing position. There we go. We'll have to do it like this today. Does that work, Pseudo?
Okay. Everybody in chat, screen. Now that he is standing, I would like for you to give a code away to someone who comes up with the best dance that they want to see Mizpah perform, and then we'll have him perform it. I want to pick it, though. So let them come up with it. I'll pick the winner, and then we'll see if Mizpah can dance.
But I'm attached.
That doesn't mean anything. You've taken your headsets off before when you took your shirt on. So, yes, this is what we're going to do.
Yes, Mizpah is smiling because he can feel the last of the chair breaking under him. And if he remained sitting on it, my head could have met the glass table at higher speed than I actually wanted.
Dude, that's
so we're now
not
standing
cool.
up.
We don't want you injured. We need you around. We can't blame you for things if you're not around. That's not cool. You need to survive, so I have an excuse and someone to blame. Oh, wow. Oh, gosh, we've had a request for the MC Hammer. Gangnam Style.
I can't touch that, I'm sorry.
John Travolta's Saturday Night Fever disco dance pose.
No.
Oh. Oh. Okay. I'm glad that there's no video of the dance that you and I did at the wedding. I have actually danced with Mizpah, and we did it at a wedding, and it was, yeah. We scared half of the people in attendance at the wedding because they didn't expect us to be as good as we were. I Latin dance, for those of you who are curious. He ballrooms. It's an interesting combination.
Ballroom, salsa, Ciroc, that sort of thing occasionally.
Yes, and I do things like Bollywood belly dancing in Latin. So, yes, there you go. Okay, so going back to the topic at hand. We are going to see a migration in servers. I am concerned, but I'm optimistic because if there's anything I have seen that Carbine can pull out when it comes to doing and solving problems, they seem to be able to think outside the box and then implement things. Granted, we're probably not going to see something like Eve where it's all one server because that to me would just be a nightmare.
Different tech has to be built from the ground up.
Exactly, and it has to be designed from that. And at some point, I really need to get my hands on those devs and sit down and do a proper technical talk because that's just absolutely amazing. Okay, sorry, I have to go with Screenager. I want you to do the time warp. It's just a jump to the left.
I don't have the right costume.
And a step to the right. Put your hands on your hips. Bring your knees in tight. It's the pelvic thrust that really drives them insane.
Nicely off camera, that, BC. That doesn't do anything.
Let's do the time warp again.
Headphones.
Now
No,
here's
sorry.
the thing, Screen.
Can't be done without costume.
Screen, just so that you know, in the future, we are going to be getting Miz dressed up as a character he's once played, Frankenfurter. I used to play Magenta, and he's going to be Frankenfurter. That'll be an interesting combination. But yes, anyway. So yeah, we're having changes. We're losing Gaffney, but we're not really losing him because he's going to be in a consultancy. We're seeing server things being addressed. We also see them not bringing out new content because they want to handle bugs.
And also, the last bit of my prediction.
Oh.
I am going to predict, pure guesswork, we are actually going to see the server tech changes at the same time as we see the next drop. I'm going to predict that is one of the reasons for the delay. Very much it's a case of it's not ready. And they're going to get it, they're going to polish it, they're going to present us something a little more crafted that's got... It won't be bug-free, nothing is ever bug-free. Because you test it, you test certain things. Then you expose it to the players and different things happen with it. But I believe that the stance is that there's so much, I believe, internal focus on sorting out realm pops, activity levels, other bits and pieces. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see some change in server tech or sharding or access to players from other realms when the next drop hits.
All right, and I also want to pick Zimba's screen. I didn't get a chance to get it in here too quick. I don't think it's going to come out that quickly. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. We'll see who ends up being right in the end. But I think, if they bring out that kind of stuff while they're trying to do this massive changes to the technology of the game itself, the core engine, the functionality, I don't think it's going to go over very well. So I think what we're going to see is just a little delay. We're probably going to see, the medics getting a little bit of a tweak. We'll probably see the espers getting a tweak like they're going to be getting. They're actually going to get a bonus for being able to stand still. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming. But Screenager, I like Zimba's choice, and I really think Mizpah should do the Macarena. So if you can give a code to Zimba's as well, I'd appreciate it.
Is this the Mizpah Dance Revolution edition or something like that?
Well, here's the deal. What we have promised, and this is something that we'll probably end up doing as part of one of our events in Movember, is we are going to be doing a MMO Buff hosts karaoke live on Twitch. So...
Well, I'll tell you what, Pseudo. If we do the karaoke live on Twitch...
Yes.
We'll use the cams, we can get a little bit more room.
Okay.
And we'll demonstrate what Ciroc is.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. Okay, this went from karaoke to Pseudo dances with Mizpah live on stream. That's different than what we were talking about.
And if Pseudo dances with Mizpah live on stream, then I will donate £50 to your November fundraising.
I have to do it. This is Pseudo officially saying I have to dance with Mizpah live on stream. Oh God, this is gonna be crazy. Well, let's just say that at least I know I can dance, and so can Mizpah, so it'll be interesting. So, yes, we'll be doing karaoke. We'll be doing this, we'll be doing...
I have ideas.
Oh, we do. There's a lot of things that are coming, but yes. Okay. So we have the changes. We know that, at least in our opinion, we have two different ideas when it comes to what's going to happen with these server population issues. I also want to throw out there that I am incredibly thankful that even though there's been a lot of negativity thrown at the game, at the community itself, there has been a huge uproar of positive as well. The devs, some of them I think get kind of sick and tired of hearing the same thing over and over from the minority. But, in the end, they are paying attention, they are listening, and I want to take my hat off to them. I mean, it's not easy being a developer. It's not easy being green, so to speak, and they do a good job. But what I also want to do is I want to take this moment, and I want to share something that we've just had go up on MMO Buff, because I want you all to know this is something we're going to be doing from now on. If you're a fan of MMO Buff and you want to get your voice heard, you actually can get an article on our site. We had a fan approach us a couple of months ago, and she said, I need to write about this because it's annoying me. And I went, what? And I know for a fact that this was inspired by the WildStar launch and the pre-launch stuff that went in WildStar. And it took us a little while to nail everything down because she traveled, etc. I want everyone to take a moment and actually go to our website. I'm going to put the link in chat for you. Our lovely Suliko, who is in chat, the woman who makes the amazing little things that you see here, along with all of the other stuff that she's made for me. She's made me a little lop. She's also made me a space thingy and a beacon glass. She has made an Exile Rousdower pillow for Mizpah. She wrote an amazing piece on gamer hate. And if you want to get a piece on our site, understand we have high expectations, and the minimum that we do is what she's written. And also, because of the fact that I know that she was really nervous about this going out, if you guys could do me a favor, leave a comment at the bottom after you have read it and give her your thoughts so that she knows where you guys are coming from as well. And also give her a pat on the back. And yeah, live on stream, forever on YouTube. Sorry, Silico Babe. There you go.
Yeah, awesome article, Silico. Really, really liked it. And
Amazing.
It's one thing this community has the capability of doing.
Exactly.
We don't always do it, but when we have, the trials and tribulations of attunement, when we have the, hey, we want to get there and get into raiding, how do we do it? We see people, we certainly see it in the guild, we see it in the wider community as well. People get stuck in and forge something out of the challenge. It's why I personally don't want to see the length of the grind for attunement reduced, because we come out of the attunement process more cohesive than we went into it. There were people that flew through it and then went, hang on, I've got to go and do Skullcano again because someone else in the guild needs it, and they come back and they rerun it. Not because they want a pair of gloves, not because they particularly love running through Skullcano, they want to be raiding. But people are coming back and help because it's part of our community. And pressure in a community, stress in a community, will bring out both the worst and the best.
I agree with that.
The problem is we make a play and we're known for the worst.
Okay.
It's about time we said enough is enough and started to get known for the best things about gaming communities.
Well, see, this is where I take the next step. I have transitioned from the laid-back hipster Josie to the bunny Josie. I am now changing into activist Josie. So, this is my activist face. What do you think?
I'm wondering who the strange guest is that's just joined the studio. I have no idea who you are.
And this means he never watches V. But yes, so here's the thing.
It's all anonymous to me.
Okay, that's funny. For once you've made a joke that I found funny. That doesn't happen very often. Look, this is one of the things we stressed way back when we started Cosmotronic. The community in WildStar, it's a good place to be, but what this game teaches people is self-responsibility, and it's one of the reasons we've backed it as strongly as we have in the past. So, I stress again, guys, don't sit back if you see bullying happening in the game. Don't sit back if you see people turning a forum post into a flame war. Understand that you guys have an impact. The developers are pushing an entire content patch out of the way and saying we're not releasing it because they're fixing the problems you reported. Do it in a constructive manner. Do it in a manner that'll get you heard. And remember, we have a much bigger voice than people think. Just saying.
And we've seen that all over the place. We saw, maybe too many, it was debated last week, but we saw servers pop up because people said, hey, we don't want to deal with the queues. Okay, a bit of a delay, got them out there, there wasn't much of a delay actually. PvP servers started falling out of the sky like frogs when it's raining frogs. But every time we as a community say something, we get a reaction. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't agree, but you can't argue that we're not. The danger is to make sure that the whole community is represented. It's very easy for the vocal minority, and it could it's really hard to say who is the vocal minority. There are strong views all over the place. The trick is that all views need to be taken into account, and what Wildstar are trying to do, and in my view doing so well, is allowing for so many different ways of doing something. The problem is most people argue for a game change that says, I don't like X, let's do it like Y. Not realizing or thinking about the fact that someone else's X is why they're playing the game. So smart solutions are solutions that give people choices without removing the choices from others.
Well, see, that's the thing. We say that, but one of the other things that people tend to do is want a change that they think is an easy fix. They think you should be able to just go in and change the formula for the medic, and the medic should be better. Or you should be able to go in and change the formula.
It's buttons. I push them and it changes, yes?
Yes, exactly. People forget that there is everything is interconnected. This is one of the things we try to stress here at MMOBuff when we talk about a game. It makes a difference whether it's an MMO or a single player or a 4X. There are so many systems integrated to make a game what it is. One change one place can drastically impact a change somewhere else. In the end, all that stuff has to be tested. And even if you have 3,000 people working on a game, it doesn't mean that everything that people want is an easy fix. I mean, I don't know. Let's go back into the days of beta, because I think this sums up, at least in my opinion, the way Carbine functions. How many times in
Take
beta...
you back so far away.
Okay, when you go back that far, actually you can. And if you spell article correctly, Darth, I'll happily do so. Yes. But yes, so one of the things that ended up happening is people would say in the beta, we would like to see this happen. Carbine implemented it, and everyone went, oh, you know what? We were wrong.
We don't like that afterwards.
Nah, we don't like that afterwards. And Carbine was also quick to go, we tried it, and it really was shit. So we didn't do it. Now the game's live. It's not as easy to sweep those mistakes under the rug. And again, hats off to Carbine for stepping up to the plate and going, we've got a problem.
Hey, there's a permanently available, pretty much permanently available PTR. They're pushing stuff out to it early in the process. They're looking for feedback. I went on to the PTR. There wasn't a huge number of people on there. There's plenty of people going, I want this on the forums. I want this everywhere else. But I don't actually see them on the PTR going, so this is what you've given me, and here's my constructive argument for why I now think X. And that would have a lot more weight. People are people.
Yeah, I agree with that. And in all honesty, I wonder if the reason why we don't see more people on the PTR is because so many people haven't been able to consume all the content that's in the game yet. It's one of the dangers of having a game that has constant releases and iterations.
So much.
And it's difficult because you have people who want to experience it in game time and real and do the server first and things like that, versus the people who are wanting to go and test. I think that's why the PTR works so well for World of Warcraft, is they don't bring out massive patches frequently or massive expansions every 6 months. Instead, they have plenty of time for people to consume and then go test the new stuff. You don't get that option here. You kind of have to make a choice. How do you divide what limited game time you have? PTR or public? What choice would you make, Miz?
I do try and go on the PTR. When something major is hitting, I'm probably going on there 1 session in 5. And I'm doing that outside of structured guild time and stuff like that.
That's the other side of it. You lose time with people who you're playing with if you do stuff like that, unless the guild is heavily involved in PTR and it's a part of the guild activities. And it can make it a very difficult thing to do. It can make it sort of separational. So, Screen says, I didn't play the PTR much because I didn't feel like testing was making a difference after launch.
Why say that, Screen? That's not my takeaway from it.
Well, apparently they screamed their heads off about certain things and they didn't get addressed. I'm wondering if they weren't in the place to address those particular issues at that time. Because that's one of the things about PTRs is more times than not they're looking to test one particular thing. I mean, remember back in the beta when they took everything and made it open world PvP? I remember that because someone hunted me down on stream and killed me. A level 50 attacked a poor little tiny 34-year-old.
It wasn't me.
So, but yes. Go ahead.
No. I just say it wasn't me. I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
I know it wasn't. It was one of the members of the Viking Nation. You couldn't kill me if you wanted to.
That's something else.
But yes. So, there you go. There's a lot of things to think about when it comes to this. Understand, no game is perfect, people. And in the end, as I've said through every single show this week, because this seems to be an ongoing theme, when it comes to picking an MMO, find the one that fits you. Not every MMO is going to be for you. If we've had people come into chat going, so what's the best MMO to play? My response, what are you looking for in an MMO? Because honestly, there is something out there for you. And no game is going to tick every single box. WildStar does not tick every single one of my boxes. It ticks a majority. I'd say it ticks about 60-70% of the boxes I have for an MMO. Which means I'll play it.
Yeah. And it probably ticks a few more for me.
That's because
it's
you're
very
weird.
focused on very much what I like in a game. But you know what? No one's going to get an MMO that ticks every single box unless they create the darn MMO themselves.
Good luck with that, by the way.
Even if you do create the MMO yourselves, the chances are by the time you finish producing it and delivering it and testing it and getting it out to the public and actually trying to run it and not bankrupt yourself, which wouldn't be easy, you've probably got to change it away from the MMO you actually wanted based on popular demand to actually keep the thing running. Unless, of course, you're an oil baron or something like that. And if you are an oil baron and you'd like an MMO developed, well, you know where we are. Get in touch.
Hi! Get in touch! Get in touch with me. In fact, if you are an oil baron or you have a lot of money and you want to donate it into helping our cause, I just have one stipulation. I want a bigger office than Mizpah. He can have the fridge with the cheese. I want a bigger office. Actually, I want an office. Let's start there, okay? I want an office. So
we're working on the office.
yes, and Melois, as Melois points out, she's found 3 that she likes to play, and she bounces around to them based on what they are. I have in my current MMO lists 14 or 15 that I bounce around to, and that's just MMOs. That's not talking the other games that I like to play at all. There are a lot of games I like to play. But Darth Laser points out a little idea. I think most gaming communities need to find a social/mental counselor because mental health online is a lot different than mental health in real life. This counselor would also counsel good gaming behavior and assist in community problems between members and flames and abuse. I'm going to point out that's perfect type of discussion for the campfire. I'm also going to point out that's sadly the responsibility of the people in charge.
And I would also point out that let's take Enigma for an example. It doesn't quite fall under that description, but we actually have an officer whose role is to make sure that everyone is happy, not overly stressed, remove friction and pain points before they occur, and effectively take on the internal HR of the guild. People argue, why do you need HR? Why do you need PR? You're not a company.
Yes.
Actually, you are. You may not be a company in terms of legal structure. What are you doing? You're getting a diverse set of individuals with different opinions and trying to get them to effectively work, by the definition of collective effort, towards a common goal. If that isn't the definition of a group of people, a la a company, coming together to achieve a goal, a la a shared vision owned by the company, I don't know what is. So it isn't surprising that the models that you can take from company life, perhaps informally, can actually still apply it and work. So we run external PR and we run internal HR, and both of them are critical to the long-term health of the guild.
Yes. I also want to point out that it does let at least the guild leader play the game.
Which is good.
Not
Else he
necessarily
gets very upset.
not necessarily the HR and PR counselors getting a chance to play the game, but it does let the guild leader play the game. Now, it's in the end, when it comes to your communities, it's always going to be on you to make them what they're worth, which is something we stress from the beginning on Cosmotronic. So, yeah. And, holy cow, I have just seen the time. Do you want to do a little post show? Since it's our last show?
Why not?
Okay, so here's what we're going to do.
Let's do the Ask Us Anything.
Yes, we are going to, for you who are watching on YouTube, I do apologize, but it's always best to catch us live because that's where the craziness and the shenanigans happen. Although for some odd reason, I've put on many hats today, and I don't necessarily know if that was a really good thing for me to do. I probably completely distracted the show in its entirety, and for that I apologize. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a tiny little break, come back, and we're going to enter the final Cosmotronic, literally Ask Us Anything.
It's the final countdown.
Something
like that.
And we'll be right back. And no, we won't be singing.